Our question for today is, where did we get the plan of salvation? Where do we get that phrase or words? Where do we get them from? Because they say it's not used in the Bible.
Hmm. That's a good, interesting question because
Sure.
indeed that the phrase, the plan of salvation, is
Mhm.
not found in the Bible. Those words,
Yeah.
but the plan is found in the
That's
Bible.
right. Well, certainly they probably hear the phrase. Sometimes we can overly use something, and people just a light bulb probably went off in their head. Like, where do we get this from? Why are we using that for everything? Well, it's not always the case that we use just that phrase,
right.
plan of salvation. This is just a group of words that we've put together to best explain how it is that one can be saved.
Mhm.
When individuals ask the question, what must I do to be saved, as was asked in Acts chapter 16, they asked the question, what must I do to be saved? They asked Paul and Silas that. And so therefore, he told them what it is that must be done. And that's what we do as well. But we know it's not just simply one thing
Mhm.
that you do in order to be saved.
Right.
If it was simply just one, we just tell you and it wouldn't be a need, but it's actually steps. So some would say steps of
Mhm.
salvation and not just plan
Mhm.
of salvation. And we know that God ultimately had a plan. So it's biblical principles behind us saying plan of salvation. God had a plan to bring salvation. Took a long time to
Mhm.
get to it, but ultimately that was going to be Jesus, and He had that plan that was to come. So there's a lot of variations that we would use, and not just plan of salvation, all to help someone understand what it
Yeah.
is that they need to do in order to be saved.
Right. And the word plan or steps or phases, however you want to
Mhm.
say it, is simply a means of saying that there's a process that
That's
you
right.
have to go through. And the
Process.
reason there's a process is because there's an ultimate goal that we're trying to get to. And that goal is the salvation of the soul.
Yes.
And we do see these steps or this plan as you're mentioning, and you mentioned in Acts chapter 16 with the person asking, what must I do to be saved? Well, you also see it in Acts chapter 8 with Philip and the Ethiopian
That's right.
eunuch. You see him, it says that he starts out by saying that he opened his mouth and started preaching Jesus to him.
Mhm.
That shows that the Ethiopian had to hear. And then the next question he says is, well, here's water. What prevents me from being baptized? So clearly, part of the message was baptism. And then he goes on to say, well, if you believe, you
Mhm.
can. And so we see belief as part of it. And then he even has him confess. He says, I believe that Jesus is. So you see that confession. So right there in one passage, we see several steps
That's right.
or phases or actions that people did or this person did to be saved.
That's right. Yes, sir. Yeah. So it's all there, and it's a process, as you say, and so that's why we use the idea of plan of salvation, because if you don't plan and purpose
There it is.
what you're doing, then you probably won't do it. So you need to be able to see it ahead of you. How do we need to get it done, and then let's go and execute that plan.
Amen.